Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Monday night, 8 p.m. We are back in our usual spot, and it is the Online Darts Live Lounge with me, Phill Bars, Jack Garwood, and Lee Boyce. And we are starting 2023 with an absolute bang, boys. We know the schedule now. We know who the tour card holders are. And from now, it's action all the way.
Was that my internet or was that you for a change? What a start. Hello, everyone. We're back.
I think it was Phil's.
What a start.
Which made a change.
Yeah, that didn't feel like mine.
I'm looking at it, just to think, your speeds into me are both awful. Which is why you're a little bit blurry.
So if ours both into you awful, let's say it's you.
Yeah, but I can see my speed as well. Mine's good.
Even all, by the way. Well, your speed has never been
me and Lee being blurry is probably the best thing for everybody watching. So,
welcome along, everyone. How are we all doing? Look, it's been a mammoth 7 days, but we are still here, gents.
A lot busier for you too.
Not seen Boise in 10 days.
Yeah, a lot busier for you too. Nice to be back on a Monday night. It feels a bit weird. When I was setting up, in my head, I was thinking, is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday, maybe? We're doing it all over the place at the minute. It's nice to be back to Monday.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Yeah, look, the necessity to do it on a Wednesday, it worked all right, to be fair, but look, it's not our spot though, is it?
Well, if we'd have waited, just imagine that this show would have been a World Championships review plus Tuesday plus World Series. It just wouldn't have happened. 30 time would have gone into World Cup stoppage time, wouldn't it? It would have gone that much further. So,
but it's still been here the next day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Welcome along, everyone in the chat room as well. It's absolutely rammed already. How are we doing, Tommy? Second zone is in. Kieran, Rose, Dave, how are you all doing? Andrew, Alex, Bob, James, Lewis, Jamie, of course, Juanita is in. How are we doing? Carl from Darts Tracker is in. Good evening, buddy. Frank, Kieran, Daniel, Steve, Owen, G Adventures is in. I'll tell you what, chat room's rammed already. Simon is in. Right, boys, where are we starting tonight? Because there's just been so much darts going on. It's unreal. Where do you want to start tonight?
Surely we have to start actually plan this. Yeah, 1 week. Yeah, the only week we can plan it is the World Championships, when that is the one and only. But the rest of the weeks, not planned.
Off the cuff.
Rock up and see what happens.
That's what we do, isn't it?
Talking
what we have done,
nonsense.
We've shared some links on social media, so share or a retweet would be much appreciated, and of course, a like as always.
All I'm going to say is allez les bleus. That's it. That's all you need to know. Mon français, un darts.
That was your favourite thing of the whole Q school, wasn't it?
Just shouting allez les bleus, yeah. That along with random niche song references, yeah.
Oh, what was the one that was absolutely random but brilliant?
That just explains me, mate.
Random, correct. We'll start with Q School because we do know the tour card holders now. And again, thanks to the PDC. Oh, wrong one.
That's Michael Smith.
There we are. Could you imagine Michael Smith going back to Q School?
Probably get beat in the final.
Look, 7 days, we can't go into it all. but we can talk about the ups, the downs. And stage one, first of all, there is one name that I just can't get out of my head. How he hasn't got through stage one is Wesley Placier. Because the man was mustard on the Euro Tour. He was it count back he missed out on the European Championships by?
I think so.
And he hasn't got out of
More
stage one.
importantly, he's the WDF World Master.
Yeah.
He's literally won one of the biggest events in the world just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers how this man did not get through stage one.
And sometimes that's just the way Q School goes, isn't it? We talk a lot about the 128 being the best 128 in the world. Sometimes it just doesn't quite play out that way. You look at some of the guys that have failed to win back tour cards or failed to pick up a tour card this year. Wesley Placier is one of those standout names. But can we honestly say we have the best 128 dart players in the world at this moment on the PDC tour? I don't think we can. I don't think we ever can. And that's not a slight on anybody. That's a slight on the system, the format, and the form and ability changes over time.
No, I fully agree with you there. I don't know what you think, Boise, but because of the way the system is, I don't think we'll ever have the best 128 players on tour.
Yeah, agree. I was looking through a few it was going on and looking at the daily winners. We've only had one daily winner who entered at stage 2. The rest of the daily winners come from stage 1. So yes, we can talk about the top or a lot of the top players being in that stage 2 already because they've previously dropped off the tour or challenged Dev and all them sort of places that come into account. But the fact that the people in stage 1 have had those 4-day sort of practicing, yes, you've still got a qualifying debt there. That is also a huge advantage. So with the system as it is, and it now being split into stages, I think we're always going to miss big names not that in cards, and there's certainly a few big names who have not made it, who a lot of people would have liked to have seen. This system does not allow, and it's near on impossible to get the best 128 into the system in that 1 year. I don't know how that would ever happen.
I think the problem is as well is that we constantly sit and have the debate, what would you do instead? What else should you do? And no matter what people come up with, there's still imperfections in any other system. So instead of making mass changes, we're sort of stuck with an imperfect system on the basis that no other system is perfect. So we just keep trying to amend the imperfect one we've got to make it the best outright because that's what we've done for so long. I don't think there is a real solution. We've spoken about the Challenge Tour, but you need prize money for that to make it that a second tier, and then it's Q School to get up to Challenge Tour. Are people going to commit for just 5 weekends in that current format? Like, there's not enough money in the sport to have a second tier list of players that aren't commercially viable while we're talking about Pro Tour players not being able to earn a living from playing darts.
Yeah, no, it is a tough one, but we might as well, as we've touched on the iceberg now, it's though, how do we make the system better? Because at the moment, it is flawed. And it comes up that we had one in Europe win a card by not playing. And then we had one in the UK lose a card because he played. In any sport, that cannot be right. That by not playing gives you an advantage.
Well, we were 2 results away from a player getting a tour card based on their average for the week because they'd had exactly the same record as someone else as well. Like, let's not forget we've got away with that as a story, as a main headline here right now. In that, if Goffin and I think it was Keegan Brown had lost before they actually did, or Nick Kenny even, if they've fallen around, if Goffin had fallen 2 rounds before and Kenny a round before, there's a chance that we'd have been looking at a, was it McGeeney-Whitehead split based on leg difference? Based on average, sorry.
That shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be down. We shouldn't be down to that.
McGeeney-Harrington, sorry.
Yeah,
Finishing with identical record.
If that was to happen with all people in there, Dob, if that was with everyone in the arena, we know they're there. It's not sort of a tournament or a group stage where someone might have already left the arena. For me, if there's a chance, the only way that's solved is head-to-head, one-off sort of game. If you are matching on every single criteria, that's the only way that you can do it that's fair, because the result then is dependent on what happens on the dartboard, and it's not happening on, do you turn up, do you miss out, do you, tactics behind what happens on the dartboard. It should all be what happens on that OT, and that for me should be something that's in place. I know the drama of a 9-dart. I know the drama of a 9-dart shootout. Yeah,
not even 9-dart shootout. Give another match. That's for a 2-year card.
People moan about when that happens and when it's happened at the Slam and it's happened at the Super Series. However, what's happened there is someone's gone through determined on throwing darts at a board, not on an average over what they've done previously. Whether it be 9 darts or whether it be a best to 11 or whatever it may be, for me, it's got to happen on the OT. There'll be a decision made what's right. What is the best game to sort of play to decide that? Is it another one of what they've played throughout the whole tournament? But it should be something relying on that and not someone missing out or down the card by not turning up.
Well, the best way to explain that, why we don't believe that average would have been the best way to solve that either, is that I can win a leg of darts in 13, 14 or 15 darts. The outcome is I've still won it on my 5th visit, which means I still have to be in a position to do that. My opponent still has to win the leg in 4 visits or 5 visits, depending on if they've thrown first or not. There's a 15 points difference in the averages between me throwing a 13 dart leg and a 15 dart leg, but the outcome is still the same. I've still won the leg in the same turn. And whilst it looks slightly more impressive that I've done it in 13, if I'd done it in 15, I would have won the leg at exactly the same time, exactly the same visit, under exactly the same amount of pressure, or visits that my opponent could have managed to win the leg themselves. And that's no more impressive than anything else, in my opinion. That's why it would have been ridiculous.
The equivalent seems to me is if you used to have a game of football led to a draw, but you have to decide a winner, and it's a team that's run the most. It's just a stat. It's something that we relate to as a stat, but it shouldn't be the base of what that result is. Look at our world number 10 is James Wade. If that was based on averages, he wouldn't be nowhere near the top 10, probably the top 50, but the bloke wins games. There's different ways to win different games in all sports, and it shouldn't be decided on a stat.
Couple in the chat room. Al says, judging by streamers, beards are mighty popular in England. Mine's just pure laziness, where I've been streaming for 7 days. I'll be clean shaven again tomorrow, probably. Boyce's always had a beard, to be feared, and Gobbs is just a measly attempt at a student beard.
Dobbs just reached puberty. That's all Dobbs is.
Fuck the pair of you.
Again, judging back into the chat room, there's a couple here from Bob. Yeah, Bob, I understand that he lost, meaning he didn't get a card, but if he hadn't have played, if he'd have withdrawn at the start and not played, he'd have won one, is the point. And I get that he lost, but the fact, if he hadn't have played, he'd have been better off. And also, Bob says, my idea for Q School is 4 days of round robin. Each player plays 30 to 40 games, and 15 with the most wins advances. So a lot of darts.
A lot of darts. A lot of boards. A lot of costing. It's close to a Swiss system, I think, but it's just too many people entering. I mean, there's conversations about the Challenge Tour next week being oversubscribed to, which we'll get onto later.
We'll come on to that shortly, yeah. But so we'll dive in. UK first. Your 4 daily winners were Aaron Monk, Graham Usher, Josh Payne, and Adam Smith-Neil, which has caused some interesting topics of conversation on social media. And
one of a couple.
Look, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not condoning what he's alleged to have done. However, it's not a criminal offence. I'm not saying it's right or whatever, but the PDC are not going to investigate it if it's not a criminal offence. If he's not been looked at by the police or anything like that, they're not going to touch it. So the petitions and everything to get rid of him, it's just not going to happen.
No.
If there's going to be them sort of things in place and the PDC then do that sort of action or anything, that needs to happen before Adam Smith-Neil enters Tewstall, not after he's got a tard. Because if he hadn't got a tard, yes, there would still be them things said on social media, but it just wouldn't be highlighted as much. The reason it's highlighted is because he's done and won the tard. That would have to be stopped for me pre him entering, because then it wouldn't be fair on someone entering, paying that money and then not being given the same opportunities everyone else who's paid the same amount of money. And then not if what is the allegations are threats, then I'm not saying I'm backing Adam Smith-Neil whatsoever. But once he's paid, he's got his reward from playing some very good darts, and then it's decided on the off day.
Yeah, look, the Aaron Monk one, that came from nowhere because he hadn't shown any glimpses of that. He was relatively poor at the Super Series, had done nothing massively. So for him to win on day one, that kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah, look, we know how good Aaron's A game is. We're not so sold on his B game, especially in recent years, but he's back on the tour. We know what he's capable of. We know that he's capable of getting himself into just as much trouble as well if it goes that way. Fair to say that the DRA are looking forward to quite a few of these boys returning to the tour. But look, to go and win it outright in as confident a manner as Aaron was, he was telling people at the start of the day he was going to win it. And we're like, nah, yeah, I am going to win it. And he delivered. And the only other player that I've ever seen in a room walk in that confident is Corey Cadby. And 2 weeks later, he's winning the UK Open qualifier and God knows else what.
And I spoke to Aaron yesterday, and he sent me the picture. He'd only booked his hotel for 4 nights. 3 nights of stage 1 and 1 night of stage.
You are joking me.
No, I'm being deadly serious.
How can you even take that risk in this room?
That is great.
I told you he was a confident boy, Gob.
There's confidence and then there's that. What dickhead.
Look, it's Milton Keynes. There's plenty of if he'd have fucked it up, there's plenty of hotels in Milton Keynes, let's be fair.
Yeah.
Graham Usher, this one wasn't a surprise. Most people predicted that Graham Usher would win a tour card from the darts we'd seen the gambler throw at the Super Series and everything like that.
Yeah, he's played a lot of the stuff that we've been fortunate enough to be able to see on the live lead and Super Series, and it was a name who was dotted around when you seen all the predictions just over a week ago. It was a name that was in quite a few of the pits, so it was no real surprise to see Graham Usher come through on day 2. Certainly not as big a surprise as what Aaron Monk was on day 1. I'm sure Graham Usher didn't book 5 nights there. I'm sure he booked them all there.
Again, I am. I had a chat with Graham yesterday as well on WhatsApp. He was there. He booked 7 days. In his head, he was playing darts for 7 days. And then Josh Payne returned to the tour again, got one that has a tremendous A game. He's a tour winner in the PDC. Had issues away from the hockey, family problems and everything like that, but good to see him back.
Yeah, he looks to be a player that's benefited from a year off tour, doesn't he? You can get caught up in tour life, in the hustle and bustle of traveling and chasing ranking points and prize money, etc., and doing it for your dinner, basically. But a year away, played some very, very good stuff at the Super Series. Another player that comes with a lot of confidence and belief and carries himself in that manner on tour, and it'll be interesting to see how he can respond to starting again.
Yeah, and on obviously Adam Smith-Neal we touched on, but actually what he did on the board was remarkable because he went into that last day with no points. It was win or bust.
He did, but I'd just like to remind you all that I said on that final day he was going to win it.
Yeah, no, you did.
Just get it out of there. It doesn't happen very often on this show that one of us gets something right, so I'm taking it.
What, you mean like when I called Graham Usher and Corey Cabotman on the same... Oh, sorry, I don't want to talk about it.
To be fair, you calling them two is like asking if water is wet, isn't it?
It's not, is it?
No, we only picked him because he doesn't have Michael Smith in the UK and MVG in the EU. That was the only
Germany. And then the Order of Merit in the UK. Look, Dylan Slithen was absolutely superb throughout. The kid's got a bright future, that is for sure.
Yeah, bright future. And he performed very well across the week, didn't he? So, there's no real surprise to see him come out on top.
Yeah, and then Lee Evans, Stephen Burton, Nick Kenny, Keegan Brown, Adam Warner, Graham Hall, Callum Goffin and Christian Perez all taking those spots. And look, Keegan Brown, not a surprise that he bounced straight back. Again, we touch on how people lose their cards. His was all during that period when darts wasn't a priority for him, when he wasn't practicing because of his job within the NHS and everything like that. The last 6 months, he's won a Pro Tour and played some good stuff. But over that 2-year ranking period, it's hard to undo a year and a half's bad work.
Yeah, I mean, heading into Q School this year, if it's no secret for us and what we do, and actually when you follow the sport, I think a lot of people at this point hope for new tour card holders. You want new stories. You want to see what new people can do with this opportunity. But if you could have picked anyone that had lost their card last year that perhaps didn't deserve to, or you wouldn't begrudge them an instant return, I think what Keegan did during lockdown that meant he wasn't focusing on darts meant that absolutely nobody's going to begrudge him a second go at it right now. I mean, he's pretty unlucky to have lost it when he did, because he was nicely set for the match play on the 1 year Order of Merit. So he's got to start again, which is a shame, but like 2 more years at it, we know what quality he's got.
Graham Hall, again, coming through the JDC, we'd seen the bits that he'd done. He had a good UK Open run as well as one of the qualifiers. Adam Warner, one of the stories as well, him winning his week at the Super Series funded him to be able to go to Q School. But again, this opens up the system that he's done well on the ADC as well, and within uni darts as well. It's a real pathway now that we're seeing and breaking out. It's not just playing the pub anymore. There are genuine avenues and routes to get to being a professional now.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it before that as much as there's a lot of controversy away from the PDC, to be an amateur darts player right now is the best time to be that amateur darts player and try and break into becoming PDC, because the amount of opportunities. Yes, you've got to pick the right route. Yes, there's going to be certain opportunities or more opportunities for some players than there is for others. However, Graham Hall is one who has proved that the right route is going through the ADC. We see a lot of people competing from a JDC perspective who've come through that system, a couple on the European. So it just shows that being that amateur player or being that young up-and-coming player, there is multiple opportunities for them to build their game before they move on to becoming a professional.
Yeah, and look, again, he's not one. It's not short confidence. There could be a few DRA fines heading his way as well. Gob, not shy, shall we say?
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Also, look, we can't hide from it. It's been all over social media. Callum Goffin won a spot on the Order of Merit. However, he seems to be in court this coming Monday on some quite serious charges. Look, we're not going to comment on them until whatever happens. But there could be a decision to be made somewhere.
Yeah, there could be, but don't know.
I'm just not sure it's going to be the PDC that have to make that decision. It's incredibly difficult for us to sit here and comment on an open legal proceeding because anything we do say could jeopardize it in any direction. That's just pretty standard common practice. But from what it appears like, the charges that he's up on, the maximum sentence is 2 years with an unlimited fine. So if he doesn't get that maximum sentence, there's a good chance, even if he does take a custodial service, he will not be for the full duration of his tour card. And at which point it is, am I going to make the most of this? Am I going to use it? Should I give it up from his position? The PDC won't act, in my opinion, given where we sit with it.
Do you think, though, and no, I'm not saying he will, but if he got the maximum and was unable to fulfill any of his 2 years on tour, would they act then?
Only if he takes it. Well, even then, no, I don't think they would. I think it would just be a top-up from the challenge tour. I think if the charges carried a much longer sentence, then there's a chance they would, be it 5, 6 years, etc. But on a 2 year, there's a good chance, given the UK judicial system, that the need for overcrowding in prisons and the chance of good behaviour means that you wouldn't serve your full sentence.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can't take the risk on him not serving 2 years, being out in 6 months and going, right, I want to play. And they go, well, actually, we've taken that away from you, because the whole idea of the justice system in this country is for reform. And once you serve your time, then you should be able to take on opportunities as long as they aren't a substance of serving that time, etc. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, which is why I said, look, we weren't going to dodge the subject, but also we're not going to go massively in on it until everyone knows what's gone on, basically. And the 23rd is the date by all accounts, isn't it? So we should find out in and around then. Moving into the EU, the outright winners, Jeffrey Spardans, Corey Cadby, Jeffrey Deswan, and Robbie Knops winning outright. Look, the one standout name on there, we might as well go straight to it, is Corey Cadby. There were a lot of question marks going into Q School. We all know the talent. We all know what he did. But 3 years away from competitive top-end darts, there are always going to be question marks. And we sat here when it was announced that he was back in. It was like, if we get the old Corey, there's going to be fireworks, but let's judge him after Q School. Let's be fair, boys. He was fucking good.
He was just the standout in terms of performances. In stage one, look, lost a couple of games, but went on to win outright on one of those days, or secure his place as one of the top 8, etc. The performances throughout that were solid. The games that he did manage to lose in stage one were of his own doing. They were of missing darts or double. They let opponents back in. He was never played off the board by absolutely anybody. Stage 2, obviously, day 1 didn't quite go his way. Day 2 didn't average below 90, even with poor finishing at times in that one. and that's where the rustiness is. If he's just spent a few weeks throwing straight at the trebles to give himself as many possibilities at a finish as he needs for the last few weeks, then fine, and give it 3 to 6 months on tour, practicing regularly. We don't know where he's going to plan to live or stay, but look, if he goes and spends time with Damon Heta and Dimitri van den Berg and Jose's been known to stay in that property as well. Some time with them, finishing on the board, back in that environment, he could be straight back to where he was before, and that's a scary thought. I don't think that's overhyping it either. Like, he's 26 years old, and looks like he's about to walk straight back into the form that he was in when he was pushing the top 16, was on the cusp of being phoned up for the Premier League as an entertainer in the first 18 months of being there, and all sorts. He's just got frightening ability, frightening belief, and is a character. Look, he's another that has had off-hockey drama. There's absolutely no way of getting away from that, but he's another that has served time for that or paid his dues for that, and is back with a second chance.
Yeah, and look, it's a case of not blowing that second chance. But the funny thing is, boys, is the way the seeding is done for the Pro Tours, some big boys are not going to like these potential draws, because anyone in that top 16 could draw Corey Cadby round one on the Pro Tour day one.
Yeah, no one wants to right now on that. And the confidence he's going to have from Tuesday. I think it was one of the days Dob alluded to when we have 27 spaces for the stories with like 27 players who we've never seen before. There's an exception to that. I'm sure you'll agree with that, Dob. There's an exception to that. There's a few headline maters in here, and Corey Cadby is certainly one of those. I know for different reasons we alluded to why it stood Keith and Brown back on the tour, because of the things they did from a darting perspective, an entertainment perspective, headline maker. There's so many words you can say about Corey Cadby. The words that Phill Taylor said about him when he played him just sort of summed it all up about what this guy can bring to the sport, and it's great to have him back. I just hope he's 100% fully committed, and we see him on. I'm sure we will see him on all the Pro Tours, see him over in the UK, all the Euro Tour qualifiers, because you mentioned the Pro Tours not wanting to have him. Just imagine the people who are going to come up against him in the first round of the UK Open. There's them sort of draws that he's probably the name in that draw that you want to avoid if he's coming in it with confidence, which he's coming through 6 days at Tuesday. Great achievement. 5 days, sorry.
Yeah, and Ryan says it there.
He's going to be on that TV stage in Minehead, isn't he? He's going to be on that TV stage in Minehead.
Without any question of
first
that.
Round. I would not be surprised if first round of UK Open, he's not the one who is the first game on that stage, being in the first round when he looked at the names that'll be in there. Depending on the draw.
Remember when Fallon qualified for the UK Open as a Riley's qualifier? We all said in our group chat, the minute she qualified at 12:30 at night, there's one TV game in the afternoon session. We'll call it now. Corey Cadby will be on the main stage at Minehead.
But Lisa Ashton was up there as well. Lisa and Fallon both played main stage that year.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And look, Jeffrey Deswan won his card back as well. And this one intrigues me because Jeffrey has all the ability in the world. We've seen that. You don't beat Michael van Gogh in the way he did on a TV tournament, get to a couple of TV quarterfinals if you haven't got bundles of ability. However, if his mindset hasn't changed and he hasn't changed those bad habits, this could be a short 2 years again for the Black Cobra.
Yeah.
It could. I mean, look, he's coming back without injury now. It seems that he's playing in a better position at that point. So he does have that going for him. But like I said, look, we're aware that he streams and is on social media a lot and perhaps was a little bit too laid back when he was on those runs in the match play and the like and taking big scalps on TV and not really committing or pushing forward with it. But look, he's got a frightening amount of ability. frightening amount. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. He beat me 4-0 in 6 minutes on a development tour 5 years ago now. He had it then, and he's definitely still got it now.
Completely. From the order of merit, the top four. We'll take these in order first of all. Mike Kyvenhoven, no real great surprise that he's bashed his way, Mr. Consistent throughout the whole 4 days that he played, 11 points plus 50 leg difference, winning 93 legs. Unreal. Flyers underneath. Again, the same, 11 points plus 42, won 100 legs. There's going to be a lot of intrigue and mystique around Richard Vinstra on tour this year, boys.
Yeah, he was a player who looked at what he did at Lateside. I'm sure he broke the average at Lateside in
112,
April.
was it, I think, maybe?
Yeah. Some of the standard he got to that weight was ridiculous, and he's definitely going to be one to watch over the next 2 years. We've seen obviously a lot of it in the BDO and then WDF, and he's certainly another one who's going to stand out to avoid. It's going to be interesting to see. The one for him is how he does on the Euro tours, depending on qualification on the stage, because I think he'll do okay on the floor, but he's going to be one who, if he can get some good runs at the Euro tours, normally, if he can find that day in, like says 112 is ridiculous from Veenstra, and it's just finding that more consistently or a certain level more consistency, because he's probably one who that B down's a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. And Pascal Reprep, how do you pronounce it? Is it Reprep? Job? Well, you Reprep. Look, coming into this, no one knew jack shit about this young man, apart from he was a young lad and he likes to go to the gym when the pictures on day one went up. However, what a 7 days this young man has had.
Mad. Absolutely. He's come out of absolutely nowhere. We had one of his friends in the chat room earlier in the week just telling us a bit of information about him. All we know is he's a 22-year-old, started playing last June, so been playing about 15 months, went to a few competitions, has made quarters and semis. He lost to Clemens in a final in November from 5-1 and 6-2 up, I think it was. As far as I know, and what it looks like he intends to is to give up his dream of being a police officer and run with the chance of being a dart player. He's come out of absolutely nowhere, another fantastic young talent, and hopefully we'll see where this can take him, because a name that we did not know, we'd never even heard of on day one of Germany Q School, almost snuck through a little bit from stage one in the end after a good first day. But yeah, just so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Ronnie Hybrex back on tour. Again, he was steady as you like. But the much favoured Evil Charlie, Karol Sedlacek, will be on tour for the next 2 years. And again, we saw this at the World Championships. One that's going to cause problems this year.
Yeah, it was one who I wanted to see come through the European tour. He's always good to watch, Sedlacek, and huge fan of the shirts, the Mats and Paddy shirts as well, which I'm sure we'll get to see even more of. So good to see Karol Sedlacek back. However, I'm guessing, Mr. Bars, with the next one on the order of merit, you're down to over to our French correspondent in Jack Darwood. Is that right?
Yeah, Jack, have you got some French words about that for us, please?
Oui, bon. Yeah. So, I mean, I said it. I don't want to sit here being that smug fat guy in the corner, but I called this one as well. There's just less pressure on Labra than there was on Thibaut Tricol. Tricol is become the Max Hopp to me of French darts, in that because he was the first to be in the limelight and have a relative level of success, WDF World Finalist, and the various other places that we've seen him compete and be in. It almost felt like there was just that little bit too much pressure for him to get over the line. And even then, we've seen him not perhaps deal with pressure like other players can do. Whereas the performance levels of Labra over the last 6 to 9 months, we saw him play in the Super Series, we saw his Challenge Tour averages, we've seen him play here, there and everywhere, have just steadily been creeping up to match the levels we're seeing from Thibaut on tour. And that, I just thought, with the ability they've both got, but less pressure on Jacques, I just felt like he was more of a chance of getting a tour card than Thibaut, and it turns out that's how it is. I mean, now we have a French tour card holder. The general consensus for the World Cup is if you have a tour card holder from that nationality, you get a World Cup spot.
Sure. Right.
Didn't we have one miss out last year? I felt like we did.
Yeah, we did. But
was it Boris?
I think it was.
Yeah, well, I'm changing everything. We're due big changes to the World Cup this year anyway, aren't we? Apparently. They were promised last year. So, Alain Le Bleu. Yes.
The uproar last year that France weren't in when we didn't have a French tour card holder was off the scale. Could you imagine if they don't put one in this year?
Yeah.
Needs to be.
There is a reason to justify it in that they don't have TV rights, and that's a big part of the deal. But I mean, wasn't Labra at their ministry basically pushing for darts to be included as a sport and stuff like that?
Yeah,
it was pretty in talks with the French government to recognise it and everything else like that. I just think they need to capitalise on it now.
Fully agree. Daniel Closer and then Jean Van Veen. Again, there wasn't a surprise about this one. He was on most people's lists. What he'd done on the Challenge Tour, the Dev Tour, the Super Series across the last year, he was one of the hot favourites to get a card. Snuck in. It was probably a little bit closer than what he would have liked, but the young Dutchman is there.
Yeah, probably a surprise on most people that he got in where he did. A lot of people would have expected him to be a lot higher in that order of merit, if not that one on a day. So that was probably more the surprise, but no surprise that he got one. We've seen his quality numerous times. I said on the multiple organisations, and no surprise to see him now as a tour card holder.
There we go. There is the order of merit for the EU. Just missing out, as Gob relabeled him, young Jacob Taylor, Arjen Konterman, Franz Rocha, Dirk Towneckers, Barry Van Peer, Andy Bartons, Tony Elsonas, Max Hopp, John Michael, a list of players all on 4 points. Boys, and look, we go back to it. He's not even on this list, which baffles me. Lucas Vainik must have been a wicked man in a previous life. Either that or someone just doesn't like him. Because, look, Lucas Vainik is an unbelievable darts player. And the stinkers of draws he had is right up there.
Yeah. I mean, not to write off Daniel Closer, but the comparison is, I think they're at very, very similar levels. Vainik and Closer. And we've seen Closer at the Super Series. Closer is a very, very talented dart player. And I think Lucas Vainik is very, very close in ability to Daniel Closer. And the fact one of them has a tour card and one of them picked up 0 points, beaten 4 times in 5 matches in stage 2 or something ridiculous, just tells you how much of a lottery Q School can be.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there we have the UK order of merit. Just missing out Conan Whitehead by a leg, Mark McGeaney, Ryan Harrington. It was getting a bit tense. That last couple of hours was, right, if he wins, he's safe. If he wins, he's out. And it got to the point where it was just like, yeah, Conan's done here.
It's
and the more and more we dig, the more and more we see other stories, the more and more it goes on as well. It's just heartbreaking for Conan to miss out on such a small margin. It turns out it's a leg. It could have been averages for McGeaney and Harrington, if you look back. He played solid. He was a Moda Super Series champion of champions winner. We know he's got the game and level, but as the day unfolded, there was a chance he'd stay in, then there was a chance there wasn't. Then it basically became a final between Smith, Neal and Whitehead, but Nick Kenny was playing for Whitehead, and it was all just a little bit too much. Then obviously the story starts to break that we discussed a little bit earlier about Callum Goffin, and we're like, right, well, does the card, if he's not able to use it for 2 years, go to Conan Whitehead? Does it stay as a 1-2-7 in the top of the Challenge Tour, get in automatically? It depends how soon they resolve that before Q School or the first Pro Tour weekend, we guess. It's just, I dread to think the mill of emotions that Conan Whitehead has been through in the last 29 hours.
You've only got to look at his Facebook to tell you he's been through every emotion possible.
Yeah.
And Patrick says it there in the chat room, the same in the UK. Daryl Pilgrim as well. Absolutely. We've seen Pilgrim smashing averages all over the place. And again, that comes down to the draw of Q School.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
That's the lottery part of, isn't it? That draw, because it even starts in stage one. You can see some draws that are a bit more favourable. You can see it even more so on day one when you've got certain players who are only going to be able to compete on the Challenge Tour. So you've got some who are not at the same level as some of the other players. So that is the element of the lottery part of Q School. But that's just looking at them. There's so many big names who are just under that line on for UK 6 to 3-4 points. There's so many huge names, and same applies to EU. Lots of big names missing out.
Well, I guess we're going to talk about it at some point, but the consistency level of Fallon Sherrick this week was one of the best on show throughout the entire week, in my opinion. Scoring was superb, doubles let down occasionally, but actually at times they were back to what we saw when she's winning on the Ali Pali stage. And the only player that really dismantled her all week in any game was Daryl Pilgrim.
Yeah, and even in that early on, she had darts and the scoreline could have been the other way. Don't get me wrong, the last 3 legs, it was a landslide. But early on, she was in that game as well. And look, Fallon, I think she turned a lot of heads this week where, let's be fair, not so much her, but the stick the PDC have got for, in brackets, shoehorning her into events, mainly the World Series. Over the last 7 days, she's proved how good a game she actually has, even on the floor. I don't think her TV game's ever been in question, because we've said it multiple times that we almost compared her to Dimitri, where brilliant on the stage, but maybe not so much on the floor. However, over this last 7 days, it was some effort. One, to win her day in stage 1, and then a consistency in stage 2. And at one point, was it 8 or 9 games unbeaten?
Yeah, there's ridiculous levels from Fallon's game that we've not seen on the floor, or we've seen in glimpses, I'll say, in the women's series. But those are probably the biggest answers that she's gave the past week, is the level that she can consistently hit when playing on the floor. To finish where she has, for me, is an achievement. As much as she was going there to pick up on a card, the fact that she hasn't been successful at Q-Stall before and not been in the position she's now has got to take a lot from the last week. And for her personally, ain't much the hate has really get to her. I know that a lot of it is aimed at the PDC, but for Fallon to go and have the week that she's had, there's got to be a lot of positives from that this year can be a more successful year than what 2022 was. Yes, there was a lot of opportunities and she probably would have liked to have taken them a bit more. But with this performance now, hopefully that'll be the springboard for what she can achieve this year in whatever she plays in. We would be that she plays any of the challenge or in the women's.
Yeah, a couple of questions floating around asking us, do we think that she will win a tour card at some point? yeah, I genuinely believe she will.
I
think
do
she'll
as
be
well.
on tour.
I think she'll win one.
I think she'll win one as well.
I do
But
think
I do.
it's helped. I do think it's helped that there's been less pressure on this year than there has on previous years. You don't think there's been previous years where a lot of the talk on social media has been you win a Tard, you win the Premier League, not just win the Tard to be on the tour. It's if Fallon wins one, she'll be in the Premier League, and that's still got to have an impact on the player and all the support base for the player. So I just think with a little less pressure, we've seen what Fallon can do on the floor.
Yeah, also Bob says, do we know if she's playing on the Challenge Tour this week? I don't know is the honest answer. I had a quick chat with her yesterday. She was absolutely knackered after the last 7 days. So I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know if she's made up her mind yet. But on that Challenge Tour as well, there are potential issues this week in Milton Keynes for the Challenge Tour.
Yes.
As in, if the numbers are to be believed,
Well,
I'm not sure.
If they get close to it.
I'm not sure we can get 5 Challenge Tour events on this weekend if those numbers are anywhere near correct.
Yeah, like if you get half the players that went to Q School at that first Challenge Tour, which there's quite a few that went purely just so they could play Challenge Tour for a day or two. Not everybody's going to be financially able to do that. And you look at some of the bottom end averages or some of the people that went just for the experience. I think there's questions to be had there, and can people financially support it a week after Q School? But if you hit somewhere like 350, 400 entries, which would be half of the players eligible for the Challenge Tour playing in the first Challenge Tour, you're looking at well over 7 hours of competition.
Yeah.
But that's part of it is as well.
3 days doesn't work.
We know how important the opening weeks are as well of the Challenge Tour, because you get yourself on reserve lists, you get yourself in that top. Well, it's been
Correct.
down to it like in the 20s at times. The first 5 are, in theory, the biggest 5 until you're playing for the positions at the end. These are the biggest ones. To get yourself on those reserve lists, to get yourself into positions to go on the Tour Tard, as we've seen so many people go on and progress that way. So they are the biggest. So numbers-wise, you'd expect them to be the biggest attended across the year, which is a worry for 5 events.
If it's 5,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it could well drop to 3. If you get to a point where you cannot physically run 2 in a day, your option is to drop it to 1 a day and you run 3. Then you've got to find extra weekends, etc. But at that point, players travelling from outside the UK have got to financially justify chasing 3 days of Challenge Tour instead of 5, which might not be as rewarding depending on an early loss. If you factor in an early loss into one of those 3, which is more than possible in a room that big with an open draw, are you going to make money back or cover your costs to go or get somewhere close to it? Probably not on just 3 events. You've got more chance of 5, granted. Obviously, your outlay costs are a bit higher, but your returns and chances of return on your investment is a lot higher. You can't cap it. However you look at it, you cannot cap it. Because by not getting your tour card, by going to Q School, you are eligible for the Challenge Tour. You can't start capping Challenge Tours. Not on a first come, first serve basis. That's not right at all.
And also, by being eligible to play in the Challenge Tour, you've got a second opportunity to win a Tour Tard. Yes, there's only one spot, but you've got a second opportunity with that money you've spent on Q-Stall to then win a Tard for the following year by finishing in the. Doesn't always have to be top if someone wins through a ranking system, but you've got that opportunity. So can't tap it for me.
If I missed out on a tour card via the Challenge Tour at the end of the year because I was the 401st player to try and enter a Challenge Tour weekend at the start of the season, and they decided only 400 are allowed to play, I'd be raging.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, challenge tours are £55 each.
Well, this is my next question. The numbers generated at Q School, we know, was just under 400 grand. I appreciate that there's expenses to pay out of that, venue hire and staffing and everything like that. But still, it was 400 grand minus some expenses. The challenge tour, if we get the numbers we've been speculated and told, there's another 118, 120 grand being made this weekend. And at that point, the money being taken in to the money being paid out doesn't really add up.
£396,000 on entries and around somewhere between 118 to 123 grand if we hit the 400 mark of entries at Challenge Tour this week. It's a lot of money.
Just a little.
You're looking at over $500,000 in a week in entries. And we're paying out, 10 grand at first prizes next week. And look, there are costs and stuff, but it does make you wonder how much of that is propping up Pro Tours, how much of that is propping up a major somewhere.
Yeah. Lendl,
we were ever under the illusion as to why the PDC weren't affected during COVID and lockdown. Let's have a look at Q School.
Exactly.
Well, if every event is self-sufficient, let's have a look at Q School.
But Barry's top-up fund came from 4 or 5 years of just Q School money. Lendl, there are 32 boards, Gob, up for the Challenge Tour this weekend.
Yes, it's the same setup from stage 1. They didn't take any of it down. They're staying up a week. So 32 match boards if needed, plus 8 practice. So there's 40 boards available in Milton Keynes. Obviously, they won't turn those practice into match boards because they're set up different. They don't have the encasing down the side.
Yeah. And Lendl, I don't think there's any more room to put any either there. I think they've used up all the space.
I don't think they have any more in the UK.
No. Evening, Craig. How we doing? Again, chat room absolutely smashing it today. But look, that's Q School. Congratulations to all the new tour card holders. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be jazzy. The DRA Christmas party will no doubt be in Dubai or somewhere hot and very nice because there are some hot heads on there. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. From there, during Q School, we had a World Series event. The first one. Right. What?
Stupid timing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you there.
Absolutely ridiculous, stupid timing.
100% agree.
Why? I genuinely think there was more interest around Q School than there was around this World Series event.
I can tell you exactly why, God, because Bahrain paid an absolute fortune to have it.
I don't care. Stop bending over without any lube just because a TV company paid you a few $100 grand.
It was more than that.
I don't care. This part of the season should be for Q School and Challenge Tour. The players need a rest. They need a break. And they're not going to say no because we've been over this a million times because, you can say no, you don't have to do it. And then you don't get any more fucking invites. It's not happening, is it? Stop banging your heads together.
We all know that Barry loves to pay no.
Same with this weekend in Copenhagen. I don't care how much they have been trying to get Copenhagen before the Masters? No. If you don't want it, you don't want it. You don't get to throw your weight. Well, apparently you do get to throw your weight around like that. But why are you allowing TV companies and that to dictate in such that manner? No. Hold firm, keep that calendar, and actually give a shit about the health and safety of your players, because they're going to burn themselves out. Let them go and have a 2-week holiday. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, but it's the same as the Premier League football. In the UK, they've sold their soul to TV companies by playing Saturday afternoon after you played on a Wednesday and things like this, and vice versa. It happens in all sport. I'm not saying it's right. However, this is why the rich become richer.
One organisation doing something does not make it right.
I've just said I'm not saying it's right, but with the money we're talking on offer...
I appreciate it happens in other sports, but that doesn't mean it's right. There's still... Look, how many managers kick off about the schedules? Apparently, just mine for months. But more and more managers are arguing that point about schedules and matches being too close together and player health and safety. How many injuries have Chelsea got at the minute? Off the back of a World Cup when nobody's had a break at all.
Oh, yeah, look.
You don't get injured in that, granted, but you still burn yourselves out. Stupid. Lovely tournament, though. Well done, Michael Smith. Solid. My world champion.
How are we doing, Pete? Good. So there was a tournament in Dubai. Bahrain, same neck of the woods. It's all out there. Spoiler alert: this man picked up another trophy. However,
I've seen that before, mate. Did you put that up an hour ago?
Yeah.
That was the opening.
We'll talk about, first of all, how it looked. The gap between the crowd and the stage was like COVID times. It was like social distancing.
It was like they were the wrong side of the racetrack.
Yeah.
It
was the first of many things that didn't go to plan over the 2 days.
Yeah, look, it was strange. When you're at a 10 data, normally venues erupt. In there, it was just like
silent. Honestly, it was like someone had killed my nan. It was
local. Until the English arrived on the Saturday. Yeah,
there's 3 guys pissed up in the back corner trying to get stand up if you love the darts going. I'm sure they'd be booted them out at one point.
Yeah, and then the expats arrived on the Saturday and it did liven up a little bit. We had some Welsh flags and everything like that. But look, the first round was pretty dross.
That's been timed. It's just... I know some people, social media, used to take the myth a little when we had a drop in standard from the World Championships PDC and then we'd go to the BDO. We've now gone from a World Championships to a tournament in Bahrain with 8 of our top players, not to say top 8, but 8 of our sort of top 32 players. And it just... I think the first day sort of summed up what was all expected, I think. As you said, it wasn't pretty, was it? Got better, right, but it wasn't pretty day one at all.
Look, the standout from the local qualifiers or the local was Man Lok Lung, who actually, he's got a very bright future. He's got a good action and he played well against Luke.
Been impressive on the dev tour. Like, his dart sticker in the dartboard. It's almost like a non-traditional soft tip action. Like a lot of the other players you see from Asia, have issues with their darts being very, very flat in the board because that's the best angle of entry for soft tip. It's the best way for the board to receive the darts. His stick up a bit, so he's got something to work off. He knows if he can go high or low. He doesn't have to worry about switching as often. It's more traditional as a steel tip action and way that his darts enter the board. So he can fly around the board that little bit quicker without having to look, or is that in the treble? Do I need to move around, etc.? I think he looks great.
Yeah, and we'll dust over it because the rest wasn't very good. Moving on to round 2. How Michael Smith...
No. We've got to talk about Alan Abi.
No.
The man went to a deciding leg for somebody that we'd never even heard of. Just kept pegging. Dimitri Van den Berg missed the dart for the 9.
Yeah, but again, one too many Dimmy specials. Like, let's be fair. The guy's averaged 82 and managed to take 5 legs off of what we believe is going to be one of the Premier League 8 this year. Let's be fair. Dimitri was shit.
103 checkout and the most bizarre hand grip action I've ever seen in the sport. Can we just take a minute to appreciate the brilliance of that man?
Brilliance is a big word.
Just move on.
Brilliance?
Brilliance?
Yeah, brilliant. We're going with that.
What
just because Abdul Nasser Yusuf's leg cost you a fortune as well. Don't be crying and running off.
Oh, no. I've just muted him, Boise, so we can now talk proper darts.
You can't use the word brilliance for that. That was the opening match following a World Championship, and that was brilliance.
It wasn't brilliance.
It only just finished. It started 4 days ago.
It was amazing.
To be fair, moving on to the quarterfinals now. How Michael Smith has beaten Dimitri Van den Berg, I've got no idea. Because, again, it was a shocker of a game.
Jimmy played the same in day 1 as he did day 2. That was probably the simple answer to that. There wasn't much difference in Dimmy's game. Other than the one good lead that he played and that brilliance that he performed in the first one.
Are we slightly concerned? Look, this may change. Obviously, we've got Copenhagen and the Masters coming up, but we all think Dimitri's in the Premier League. These performances aren't Premier League level, and it could be a long 16 weeks unless Dimitri can change something.
But he looked good at the World Championship, and that change of barrel seemed to have reignited him. He still threw some very, very good darts. Look, he was a dart away from he just switched off a bit. In an event where we've just pretty much discussed means absolutely jack something.
Shit.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've agreed that we will not be 100% PG anymore, but we don't have to swear at every opportunity, Philip. Come on now.
I'm all up for that, Pete. I'd be up for that.
Of course you would.
Think of the views,
We've
boys.
just spoke about the pressure being off someone's shoulders, and now you're trusting that person into playing every Thursday?
100%. Again, Luke Humphries will be kicking himself 5-1 up. And to be fair, Barney averaged 101 and prevented Luke from having a match dart.
Barney away. Barney away.
Here's my thing. He still should have been absolutely nowhere near this event.
No.
I know Michael was on holiday. And he played steady darts here. 98, 101, 95. Brilliant. But if you're going to have players miss out on the Premier League in the next couple of weeks when the announcement is made that have won majors in the last few weeks or that are in contention for it, send them. Send a Ross Smith. Send a Danny Noppert, send a Dirk van Dijvenbode and try and get something going in that crowd. Yes, Barney's a big name. Yes, that walk-on still does bits. Yes, one of the most recognisable. Brilliant. But there were others that deserve this chance. And yes, it's a glorified exhibition. PDC can do what they want, puts bums on seats, etc. At some point, people are going to tire of hearing that the same way that people at home are tired of watching that.
Boise. We'll let Jack rant. I'm going to put a thing down and we'll just let Jack go. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious, let's be fair, that the Bahrain government and the TV companies have wanted Barney in there. So he's gone in.
Tiny Tail will return to him.
What a dickhead.
I don't think you moan this much when we was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I think it's something to do with a Monday.
It's just a day of the week, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the day of the week.
Everyone can tell Gob's not a Monday person.
I'm just stupid, isn't it? Come on. Like, if you're about to disappoint us with the Premier League, at least give us some of the guys we want to see. Spread it around. How many? What is there? 5 World Series events this year, so 40 representatives possible. Oh yeah, let's put in the same 6 that we've seen forever. And Barney, who got an extra Premier League because he decided he was retiring a year out because Phill Taylor got a send-off tour and his ego decided they're at the same level. Grow up.
If we hear much more from you, you're going to be the second member of the Raymond van Barneveld Club. You will get an entry from Joel.
Nothing against Barney. When he came back, he won a Pro Tour, fair enough. But he hasn't done enough since. Beating Gerwin Price at the Grand Slam twice does not make you top 8 most watchable televised player we've possibly got.
I'm disappointed we've not heard the alarm while you're ranting. Just over the top of you.
But anyway, Barney saw off Luke Humphries. But that seemed like 20 minutes ago we said that. Rob Cross beat Peter Wright. Peter Wright used the same set of darts 2 games in a row. They weren't a conventional set, but at least they were straight barreled. But Cross looked half decent. And then this was one of the best games of the whole tournament. Gerwin Price beats Johnny Clayton 6-4, 101 average from Price, 98 from Clayton. It was a good game and arguably up there. Then semi-finals, Michael Smith beat Raymond van Barneveld 7-5. Again, tidy enough game. Gerwin Price beats Rob Cross 7-3. And then in the final, Michael Smith beats Gerwin Price 8-6 to win the inaugural Bahrain Darts Masters. Now let's talk about the trophy. Blech.
To be honest, I wasn't sure if we was going to get a chance to see the trophy when they went to an advert. I wasn't sure if it was the end of the show or not. As they headed over to John McDonald and just cut him off mid-speech. Yeah, it's not one of the finest, is it?
No. It's. I don't know if he's watching, but sorry, Neil. It's on par with the Lakeside Pac-Man trophy.
If that had to stay in Bahrain in a darts museum, I've got a feeling Michael Smith wouldn't be too disappointed.
Yeah. It's not great.
Leave the pizza trophy alone.
You're right, Gob. You've gone all quiet on us.
I just don't have an opinion on this because I'll get told off I'm ranting. Also, I actually mind this is the winner's trophy, but the poxy little tiny version of it for the runners-up was dreadful. This is unique. It's a bit different, but like it's just shrunken. It looks nothing like a fucking palm tree at that point either.
On a brighter note, we've got another World Series event this weekend.
Yay!
which, first of all, we'll do the negative again because we have to.
Rate that, Pete.
Yeah. Round 1, no live TV coverage again. TV highlights at 6 a.m. in the morning on the Saturday.
Shite.
Are we surprised? Oh, this is the first
No.
hint.
No.
And that's probably the most worrying thing.
Bahrain was live 100%, and after the PDC being so miffed last year about it not being live, it looked like ITV had gone, right, we're going to put it all live. And this is a better standard competition. Some of these big names are
100%.
under threat.
Without doubt, yeah.
The only time I see 6 a.m. is if I'm coming in from the night before.
Yeah, it's not great, but we do have 3 sessions to look forward to.
The last one was shite.
Looking at this one, Michael Smith, Darius Labanauskas, Luke Humphreys, Marco Cantelli, Peter Wright, Daniel Nilsson, MVG against Andreas Harrison, Gerwin Price against Benjamin, Ruiz, Dimitri Vandenberg against Mados Razma, Rob Cross against Vladimir Anderson, and Johnny Clayton against Daniel Larson. Good lineup. I like this.
Yeah, a few are in trouble. I expected a couple, maybe a few to go in this first round. If we see the levels we saw from on first round last week, I know certain players will up their names depending on opponent, but I think we'll see a couple of seeds drop here, which is good to see from a World Series. Yes, it's not at the same level as what we saw in Holland. However, it's a very, very good lineup. Interesting to see what MVG we see.
A suntan one?
I actually think the timing of this is quite funny. Imagine throwing your waiter out to get the event when you want it and then not being broadcast live to the biggest darting population in the world, i.e. the UK, because there's 2 other sports on already on that broadcaster and you can't force their hand. I'm all over this.
Evening, Lau. Hope you are good.
Not live anymore. That serves them right.
Yeah, look, you say what MVG we're going to get. Judging by his Instagram, a suntan one. Because it looks warm.
All right, for
Very little practice, I would expect.
I can tell you there's very little practice.
Does that make a difference?
No surprise.
Yeah. But first up, Michael Smith against Labanauskas. Are we seeing an upset, or are we saying Michael Smith?
Smith.
I think if Darius was playing someone else in this draw, then there's a chance, but I just don't see Michael Smith blowing it. Even his bad games at the minute is just steady enough.
Yeah. Oh, actually, but before we go on to the rest of them, do we think the World Series events should all be the same format? Because this is best of 11, best of 19, best of 21, best of 21.
Yes. Especially if they carry ranking points towards the World Series finals. It's not even a debate. This would be like having a double-in Pro Tour in the middle of the season and going, right, but it still qualifies you for the Players' Championship finals. Stupid.
But yeah, so are we going Michael Smith chat room as well?
Smith for me, yeah.
Yeah, 6'2", 6'3" for me. Luke Humphries against Marco Cantelli. What we say in chat room?
I mean, Cantelli's failed to get into stage 2 of Q School, so not for me.
Yeah, also not for me, but a few lads.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think 6-2 potentially.
No, he didn't make stage 2, but he was minus 7 legs, 0 points. No, thank you.
Peter Wright against Daniel Nilsson.
Dennis.
Too many.
Daniel Larson. Dennis Nilsson.
Yeah, it's been a long week. I think Wright comfortably.
Right, just.
Snaky.
Yeah. Michael Van Gogh against Andreas Harrison.
There's a chance you get caught out cold, but if anybody's going to take advantage of it, you'd want a Rasma, an Anderson, or a Labanauskas there. The fact is Harrison, not so sold.
The fact that Michael Van Gogh is flying halfway around the world, literally going straight to Copenhagen, is a slight concern.
The fact it's a short format first round helps, where normally it's probably the opposite. I'm not convinced throughout the whole tournament, but I'm convinced on this one.
Gerwin Price against Benjamin Ruiz. What are we saying?
I don't know a lot about him. I mean, I'm currently looking at his results. So whenever Arjun Kontaman at the World Masters, PDC World Youth Championship, beat Owen Maiden, but lost to Owen Maiden, but beat Fabian Schmutzler, lost to Belmont in the World Europe Cup, beat Portella in the Swedish Open. Still not convinced he's got enough to beat Gezi, though.
Yeah, same.
No, I'm with you. I think Price fairly comfortably. Dmitry van den Berg against Manos Razma. Is this the one?
Where we start?
Is this the one?
If the same Dmitry from Bahrain turns up in Copenhagen, there's a chance we lose a seed.
If the same Dimmy turns up, I think there's only one winner. I don't think it's a chance. I think Rasmus a lot better player than that. I think Rasmus comes through it.
So in fact, I agree that if we see Dmitry from Bahrain, I think Razma wins. Going upset. Manos Razma. 6-4. Rob Cross against Vladimir Anderson. Now, just purely for interview sake, I'd love Vladimir Anderson to win.
Confident person, isn't he?
Not shy.
Don't see past Cross.
No, I'm with you.
And to be honest, before the players, I might have given Daniel Larson a chance here. But actually, Players Champs, World Championship, and even last week, he averaged 103 and 98 before being beaten by Gezi. I don't see anything other than a Johnny Clayton final here.
Have you moved on again, Dom?
I'm jumping all the way. I'm going bold here.
We've just done about Rob.
Yeah, Cross is winning it, isn't he? Interviews would be funny if Anderson wins, but no one's not backing Rob Cross here, are they? No.
I think this is closer than what you think. This was a potential for me of an upset. As is the Johnny Clayton, Daniel Larson one.
No.
I thought Johnny looked good in Bahrain, I have to say.
Yes.
He looked better. I still think there's a potential.
I think Johnny
Of an
makes the
upset.
final.
All right, then. Let's do it. Who wins? And who do they beat in the final? Chat room, come and get involved as well. Who wins? Who has a mare? Who's shit? And who's triumphant?
Simple. I already know.
You went full John.
You already
Park
know?
there. Yeah, I already know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Are we-
I got it.
Are we watching this on delayed coverage? If you already know.
You know how I got Smith Neal right yesterday? I've got this in the locker as well. Job done.
I'm doing boring. Same final, same outcome. Wait on.
Smith beats Gezi.
Yep.
Yeah. Wrong. Philip.
Yep.
I'm going for Gerwin Price beats Peter Wright.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Fools.
You do know if that's right now, he's going to clip that little bit.
He ain't got the time to go back and do that at all. Johnny Clayton hands Michael Smith his first ever defeat as world champion in the final. Heard it here first.
Wrong.
And then they delay the Premier League announcement even more.
I don't understand. To tell her now, I understand why they've done it because they're scared. But knowing everything that we've known, that Michael Van Gogh is on holiday, he's not picked up a dart. How can you have him such a short favourite to win the Nordic Darts Masters? Is ridiculous.
He's what?
It's 11-4 favourite to win the Nordic Darts Masters.
Wrong.
100%.
That's why I put
100%.
wrong. In the same half as the world champion. Wrong.
So that's the World Series. Couple of questions in the chat room on the Premier League. Again, nothing official, but I think we'll get a Premier League announcement early Masters week. I don't know that. That's just what my gut says.
If they're waiting for results here, and when Johnny Clayton beats Michael Smith and Madars Razma causes the upset, they dig themselves more of a hole.
So is your opinion changing who you think your 8 is after these World Series events?
If the same Dimitri turns up as he did in Bahrain, and the same Johnny Clayton turns up that did at the World Cup in Bahrain and goes deep here, yes. That defeat for Johnny to Dimitri in the World Championship is reversed by back-to-back exhibition play here.
What do you think, Boise?
My theory is the main reason for the delay is a certain German player who we're not seeing anymore, but I can't see any other reason. You can't surely be waiting on your Premier League based on a World Series event. Yes, I know we've seen it with the Masters, but that is your top 24 ranked players. Surely we're not waiting on performances in a World Series to determine who our 7th or 8th player are for 4 months of darts.
I hope. What I really hope is the delay is because they are changing the format out of nowhere.
The fact they've tweeted who's your 8 going to be twice since the World Championship, I don't think so.
Even bigger curveball. Haha, who's your 8? Because they're in this 12. Ta-da!
And
definitely not going to 12.
I know a lot of people in the chat room are saying they think it'll wait till the Masters. The reason I don't think they're going to wait for the Masters this year is because of that, just in case someone wins it, they don't want in. We've already spoken about the pool of players.
Why two?
There's a couple.
Danny Noppert won the UK Open. The PDC have almost pretended he doesn't exist for 9 months, just in the hope that people forget he won the UK Open, so he doesn't have to be included in the Premier League conversation. If the Masters final is Danny Noppert versus James Wade, they have shit the bed.
This is what I mean. This is what I don't think.
I was doing Danny Noppert versus Jose de Sousa. Is where I was going to go with that one.
And I'm so here for a Noppert Wade Masters final.
And that's why I don't think they'll wait, because of that risk. They've gotten away with it the last few years. In relation, it's worked out that Joe Cullen and Johnny Clayton have gone on and won the Masters. They've got lucky.
I tell you what, Jack. If Josh Rock manages to win the Masters, he deserves it, mate.
Yeah, as I say, if Josh Rock wins the Masters,
because he's 12 places out of qualifying for it, and there's no event for him to change that.
Yeah. But we've spoken about there's 8 places, but realistically, there's probably 12 players you could pick, which will be an exciting Premier League. Let's be fair, there are players in the Masters that aren't in that equation.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they will risk it going south.
Nope.
So but we will see. A week in darts also. Congratulations to Matt Clark, who won week 10 of the Super Series. Played well. Kevin Painter, brilliant in the semi-final. Didn't get going in the final. Also, big
to a bit of form, ready for the seniors.
I was about to say that brings me nicely on to the seniors. The last invitational pick was announced today. Scotty Dog, Scott Mitchell, takes the last invitational space. And in my opinion, right now, based on form, is favourite to win.
He's certainly in that conversation, isn't he? I mean, there's a couple of players that didn't go to Q School that would be up there. We saw Phill Taylor edging towards competitive last year, 2 finals, since spent $7,000 to have his eyes laser corrected and put in a lot more work. We've seen him play in exhibitions in the last couple of weeks and perform better, granted over a smaller distance. We know how dangerous Martin Adams can be. You've got Dozer coming in. We've announced Leonard Gates just a couple of weeks ago, but Scott Mitchell, been there, done that. The pace might upset a couple of people, but the ability that he averaged 92 on tour and managed to lose his tour card.
If he averages 92 across the seniors weekend, he's champion.
Pretty much. Over that format.
Yeah. We'll cover that in question time, Jeff. We'll answer that in a minute. We're just doing a roundup of a week in darts. So, yeah, that's that. The draw live next Sunday, Gob. Not this coming Sunday, the Sunday after.
Yes. Yeah, live from the venue in Reading at the end of the qualifier. John Lowe will be there conducting the draw, I believe, with our friend Derek from the title sponsors, Jennings Bet. The qualifiers are going to be insane. You look at the level that Andy Hamilton just produced over Q School. You look at the players in contention at the top, Darren Johnson, Andy Jenkins. You've got 2 lists to contemplate. Will we see Lisa Ashton in Reading, knowing that she's very, very close via the money list and that a good weekend there might keep her in contention? Colin McGarry's played on TV at the back end of last year. He's up at the top there, the rankings. Dave Prinz, Richie Howson's already qualified via the money list, but there's still the other spot there, obviously. Reading should be very, very competitive next week. Jim McEwen, Mike Huntley's already qualified. Just chucking names out now, but I'm proper excited for next weekend.
Just on one of them, the Dave Prinz shoulder injury concerns me.
It doesn't, because he still played brilliant darts last week. And the first weekend of qualifiers, he made the quarterfinal of the Flyer on the Friday night, I think it was, playing on 19s. Couldn't throw it high enough up the board without being in pain, and he still went a deep run on the Friday night qualifier playing 19, so he's comfortable enough to do that, and he's had some time to rest it.
Hendo is 50 in May, is that right?
Yes.
Could we see Hendo?
The list of names that's on Dobbs' computer, the back end of 40, soon to turn 50. That list is ever growing.
Graham Usher was one of them. He was very, very close. Peter Jakes turns 50 this year. Wayne Mardle is 50 this year. I think Colin Lloyd isn't too far away either. There's a few in there. Don't you worry.
No, we haven't really discussed Hendo, Johnny, but we can have a little go now. I thought Hendo was unlucky at Q School. And I genuinely think a year playing some ADC events, some Super Series, maybe some seniors if he wants to once he turns 50. I think Hendo will be a danger at Q School next year.
Yeah. He started playing better towards the back end of the tour. I think it was from October onwards. He was averaging mid-90s again. It's just too little, too late for him. When your body changes as drastically as John Henderson's did, a lot of that was, I think he lost a lot of his form in that. Part of his action is so rocky and methodical. There's a bit of muscle memory that goes into that as well. And obviously we had lockdown where nobody was really playing any darts. And I think he's one that struggled to recover from that. Didn't put himself on enough Euro tours, didn't put himself in TV events often enough, and fell off basically at the back end. But the performances were better. We saw glimpses over Q School. There was just key moments where it wasn't quite there. And again, that's about the drive and the performance. He's still good enough to be back on that tour if he wants it. And a year out might just be the best thing for Hendo.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else have we missed in a weekend? Happy birthday, mate. What else have we missed in a week in darts before we open for question time?
I won at Super League last night. Go on.
Average?
Yeah, I was. I was 4 from 31 on the double.
Yeah.
27 missed darts at doubles in 4 legs, and I still won all 4. I missed tops for a Shanghai for a 15 darter in the opening leg and won it in 30.
Welcome to the Dog and Duck.
Fell apart. And the rest of the match wasn't much better.
Yeah, Ryan, we can tell you exactly why it starts so late. So, Sporty Stuff TV bought the TV rights for the Super Series, and they cannot show it until their dog racing finishes at 9:55. Before it was on TV, it used to start at 9 o'clock, but because they paid for the TV rights, it has to go at 10.
Yeah, that one.
But we'll open up question time. We'll have a good 15 minutes or so answering your questions. I'm sure Gob will sit on the fence as always, Boise, won't he?
Always.
I don't know where you're
Splinters.
getting this from at all.
Splinters, that dies that. It's just the Monday, I'm telling you. It's just the Monday.
Do you know what? As of next week, different man. 100th show, which we promised a
why are we
lot,
moving
we're
to
going
a
to deliver
Tuesday?
bugger all different to what we normally do. Because that's just what we do.
We will try and get something sorted for the 100th. Might be a lot of rushing around for it. But...
Lee's face is how I feel. But 100th show, revelation to what we're doing. I'll be another year wiser. It's fine.
To be fair, 100 not out. We haven't been cancelled, which is always a good thing.
There's still time. You carry on.
Leave it with us, Rose. We're working on it. Matt says, what players were most disappointing that didn't win a tour card? Look, Yella's in there. He's WDF number one and never really threatened at all.
Yella, Placer, Henderson, Fallon, Scott Mitchell.
I'd add Tebow to that as well.
Thibaut. Yeah, but Allez le Bleu Jacques Labre. Got one.
Gobbs' French is just like Dalboys, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did German at school.
Bonnet a douche.
I could say you are a turtle. You are a tortoise.
Malachi, I can honestly say I've never watched Love Island in my life.
I have. It's very good.
Phill didn't apply to Emma's not on the show as well, just to let you know.
But Maya Jama's hosting. Hello.
I was saying Maya Jama's hosting it, isn't she? Because it's all over her freaking Instagram.
It's the most disappointing thing, though. You can't go in there and win the host.
Any idea when the Premier League is going to be announced? Not officially, but I think early next week. Any new major winners this year?
What?
I mean, if anybody's Danny Noppert and Ross Smith this time last year, fair fucking play to you.
Luke Humphreys.
This year, yeah, Humphreys.
Josh Roth.
Oh, he's gone big.
He's gone big. He's gone bold.
Or do we say
Wins
him?
one this year.
Do we say Corey?
No, but I think year two potentially.
No, Josh Roth beat him in a final. What a final that would be, by the way. What a final that would be. It's like some sort of next-gen competition.
Aileen de Graaf.
You going Aileen de Graaf wins the women's match play?
She wins the women's match play, yeah.
Bold.
Stupid and funny, but yeah, we'll go for it.
But could you imagine?
Was it? Yes.
Yeah, he played one day so he could play the Challenge Tour. That was always the plan.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Barry's face before a dart was thrown if there was a TV final that had Corey Cabby and Josh Rock in it?
I think it would look like a scene out of South Park.
To be honest, I just double checked how old Corey was to see if he was still young enough to be in the youth. So I know he was mid-20s. I didn't know he was 27.
His last year
was his last year as World Youth as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's developed. Is this the year for Chizzy? Not for me.
Ooh. I hope so. More than believe it will be.
I would love Chizzy to win a major, but under pressure, I just don't trust the action to hold up. And that's a technical thing. That's enough. I love Chizzy to bits, but I just don't think under the extreme pressure, it holds.
I'd love it if it was, though. We said that about Smith, and then Aspinall crumbled and it let him over the line. Just someone do that. Let Uncle Dave win a major.
Craig, I think it just comes down to scheduling of when the venues are available.
Nah, Polish Eagles missed the boat, I'm afraid. He's going in one direction and it is not upwards.
You missed such a good opportunity there to get a 1D song title in there.
They haven't got any about going down. They're a bit PG. With he.
You could have made something fit.
That's what she said.
Yeah, right. Let's have a quick talk about players that are defending a lot of money this year as well. Someone just brought up the question about James Wade in the rankings there. So this year, James Wade's defending £323,500, 73.5% of all of his money.
That's similar numbers to MVG and Smith. However, they have a lot more percentage-wise in year two.
No, Michael Smith's only defending 28% of his money.
Yeah, but he's defending 300 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're on 1.2 million, it's a big difference.
No, but that's the thing. Him and Michael Smith are defending very, very similar amounts of money, but James Wade's is 75% of his total. Michael Smith's is a quarter.
Yeah. MVG's only defending 24% of his ranking money this year.
Which is also 300 grand.
Oof. Peter Wright is defending 898.75 grand, 78.5% of all of his ranking money.
400 grand plus the World Championships. Everyone's defending similar apart from the Worlds by the looks of it.
Yeah, Gezi defending 400 grand, 55%. But the problem is we've said it before. Has James Wade still got that big enough game in him to trouble the big scorers? James's finishing will go down as one of the best finishers the world has ever seen, ever.
That's why he's the GOAT.
But does he score heavy enough anymore, is the question.
He finds a way, yeah. This time next year to be in a similar position.
He's got UK Open and then the match play. He's got 5 months to do what everybody wants. Go win some Euro Tours, James.
Gary Anderson.
Do you know what's pivotal for Wade? Getting back in the top 16 on the order of merit because he's not seeded for the Euro Tour. If he can do that while everyone else is pissing around on the Premier League, then he's got a chance.
People have asked about Gando. Gary's defending 160 grand. However, that is 67.9% of all of his money. And at the moment, he's not in any of the TV tournaments to defend them.
He's definitely not going to be in the slam then, is he?
Where does he end the year? Currently 22. That's all right. Where does Gary
Has the
Anderson
tour card race
end?
been updated for 2023 yet? No.
No.
Darts rankings. You are slacking. I don't say
No.
that very often. You guys are absolutely mustard.
Mustard is the right way. Where does he end the year, Dob?
Retired?
I want to have a look at something first. I think Gary has a good year.
Why, have you checked his star sign or something? Where did that come from?
Just the little conversation I had with him.
Oh,
Right.
whoever spotted it, Annan in the chat, if you go to year to date on Dart rankings, Dandel moves to 37.
That's one this season. So that doesn't include the year. Oh, yeah. So everything else would be defending or staying on. There's trouble.
Do you think he'll be in the top
Yeah,
32?
Yes.
Just.
It genuinely wouldn't surprise me if he went and did something stupid at the UK Open or something like that.
He hates Miners.
He hates everywhere. That's not a fishing lake.
Minehead's literally 20 minutes from his house, which is saying something because it's not 20 minutes from anywhere, and he hates the place.
I think he'll do all right. Chris says, if Goffin's card gets taken off him, do the PDC give it to Whitehead? We were talking about this earlier, mate. We don't know, is the honest answer. It should go to the next in the order of merit, but officially we don't know.
It depends if it's a removal of the tour card or if it's just he has it but doesn't use it for 2 years. I don't think they can remove it before the Challenge Tour weekend because the legal proceedings are due to resolve on Monday. Once you sent somebody to the Challenge Tour for the weekend, can they then step up as a tour card holder to the Pro, knowing that they've taken opportunities away from somebody on the Challenge Tour in a different ranking? And if it's not resolved by that point, they'll probably just hold it as 127 and the top on the CT will be everywhere.
I think, again, I don't know this. I think that if it is taken off of him or handed back and it's after the Challenge Tour, I still think they'll elevate Conan. I think they'll want 128 tour card holders.
I think having 127 draws attention to it for the entire year. And that's not something they will want. TV commentators will not start referring to them as the 127, and everyone's like, well, why is it not 128? It just would be wrong. I think they would prefer 128 full.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure where they stand in terms of their own rule book and being able to do that.
Yeah. What else have we got in the chat room then? Did you expect Benito Van der Pass?
That's the thing. It would have to be not available to use that tour card for the entirety of the 2 years in which they earn at this point.
Yeah. What else have we got in the chat room then?
Challenge Tour, James. There isn't an entry list yet. It'll be on the PDPA website or the PDC website just before entries, just after entries close this weekend. Basically, anybody that went to Q School this week is eligible to play on the Challenge Tour. We won't get full entries until entries are closed.
No. Interesting to get Boyce's opinion. Was it offside or not offside?
No. It's a dark show. You're not there, in my opinion. That is my answer. I know someone who's watching tonight who's waiting for my opinion, and they're not going to get it because I told them exactly the same on message last night that it's a dart show. So I've got a feeling you've been prompted to ask that question.
No, genuinely, I haven't. Hand on heart. I wasn't prompted.
It was offside, though, wasn't it? It was. There's an image going around of him removed. When you remove Rashford, and just look at the difference it will make the defending, full stop. It's offside. It's a joke. The same way that Salah was offside the other week before the defender headed it, and that headering it doesn't make a difference. When the ball's played, Salah's offside, and it should never have counted.
Let's do an image and remove Michael Smith's double 12, and then he's not hit a 9-darter in a World Championship final. We can remove stuff and say, oh, well, it didn't happen.
He's offside. You know he is. Stop trying to convince yourself.
Don't talk. Let's remove things from an image and say, oh, that will happen.
Look at the distance between the defender and the ball that he can't get to ahead of Fernandes. There's absolutely no way he makes a challenge, a sliding tackle, a block or something if Rashford is not there. And you know it. He's offside. He stops the defender being able to defend that situation properly. They ain't going to fit in there, mate. It's 2 in one and 1 in the other, mate. That's how it works. You don't put 3 in 1.
That's for one of you. That's for one of you, and that's for the other one.
Oh, my work here is done. Oh,
it's 2 in that hole and 1 in the other one.
But so plenty coming up as well as always. I will be in Copenhagen this week, bringing you all the reaction. So can't wait for that. This will be available as an audio only this evening as well. The Super Series returns tomorrow from 9:30. Seniors coming up. It's a busy couple of weeks, boys. Premier League, Masters, Pro Tours start.
More announcement this week, by the way, for the seniors. I think there's one tomorrow. I say think. It's only me doing it, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all good. Everyone, thank you very, very much for joining us on the live lounge this evening. It's been a great laugh as always. And we'll be back next week. We're not sure how and what yet, but stay tuned. We'll think of something. We'll throw something
basically, what's
together.
about to happen is we're about to end this broadcast to you guys. Then we're going to sit in the same software and chat nonsense for an hour. When we start saying, oh, what a great shirt was on Twitter, it means we finally let the three of us go and get on with the rest of our lives.
Yeah, we'll sort something out. But thank you very, very much. Episode 99 in the can, boys. 100 next week. We've been the Live Lounge. Phill Bars, Jack Garwood, Lee Boyce. Thank you very much for your time this evening. And everyone, one last time, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe. And we'll see you all very, very soon.
This is just the beginning.